Recording is on now.
Okay, hi, guys. I'm Wei Qiang. I'm from the same team as Animation's Codex team, and I'm an open source contributor to the Kubeflow projects and some other projects as well. My GitHub ID is already saying it's Adrian555. So now I'm going to cover about at least two topics here in the next hour. One is about how you're going to mess up with the the Kubeflow open source source code, and so you need a development environment. And then the other one is really about the Kubeflow control plane. There's two repos repository like Kubeflow and Manifest. I will go through a little bit deep depth into the those two repos, and so we can find something like if that interesting you, and then you can start to do some contribution on that. In the afternoon, we will have a workshop, interactive workshop to go through how to do the Kubeflow deployment. And we provide some of workshop class as well for you guys to use. And so for the, I will take through all these sessions as well. So let's start with the development environment first. So, okay. So, of course, right? These days, that if you want to run so many source code developments, you don't need. It's not limit to either it's a Linux or Mac OS or what environment. You can also run it from the Windows as well, and so there's no specifically required OS. The Kubeflow projects, the source code version control and repository are using the Git and GitHub, and thanks Morgan for doing the very good, excellent Git and GitHub presentation just before Animation's end-to-end machine learning presentation. And so I will just quickly go through about the some very specific things that you will need for the Kubeflow's projects. And then there's also a container, right? So because we're talking about the Kubeflow, which is on a native Kubernetes clusters or OpenShift. So basically, there's a lot of Docker images, and so you need a Docker container, Docker engine to build or something like that for the okay, go. Okay, to build an image and push to a repository for your image and so on. So we also need to set up the Docker engine for that. And then most of the Kubeflow projects are developing with the Go language, and there's also some the Python SDK and Python interface. So there's also a Python language, programming language you may need to get familiar with if you are going to contribute to any of these projects. Of course, the IDE is the most important things that when you do a code development. Some people prefer just VIM. That's also good. That's all. But in today's world, that you can use some other IDE, IntelliJ and all those things for different programming language, and you have your own favorite IDEs. Once you have all this environment set up, then you are writing your code, but it's also a very important aspect is not just your code, function code, right? It's also about the unit test. So you also need to look into, to write the unit test, and then when you finish the coding, and then you also need to run and debug and so on. So this is all part of the development environment. So let's go through one by one. So Git and GitHub. I'm not going to all the details, but as I said, Morgan already introduced that. So you can happily to install Git, and there's an instruction already in the GitHub lab. You can just use that. But on Mac OS, it's very simple, right? Just one command to run the brew install Git. And then you need to have access to github.com. And so I guess in that presentation, you already have a chance to create your GitHub ID on the github.com if you have not yet. You need to do that. After that, you need to set up a Git. You run a Git config to set the user username and your user email there. And then fork a repo. So for example, if you want to go to Kubeflow project and then you go there with the GitHub, .com/kubeflow/cavecutter, and then on the top right, there a fork, and then you just click on that, right? So this is particularly for the Kubeflow project. Because of some of the projects, Kubeflow and Cave projects are using the Go language, and Go is very specific on the directory for the source code. So you need to have make a Go path, and then you will have to clone your projects under source, and then there's a github.com/Kubeflow under this subdirectory, so that you are able to build it later on. So basically, you cannot just clone it in any other places, right? Any other directory. After you clone with your private forked repos, and then you can cd to cavecutter. Another thing very important I want to add is that you want to create a remote link to the upstream, which is the master of the Kubeflow's project repo. And we need this so you can do periodically if you want to merge from the master your projects and to your local private projects, then it comes very handy, and I will show you that later on in some of the demo I do, right? So this is about a Git and GitHub, and the next one is about a Docker engine, right? So install Docker is also, you have a link. You can go there to install Docker for Mac OS, for Windows, and for Linux. Just click on it and follow all the instructions very clear there. And of course, right on the Mac OS, the Docker desktop will be installed. And this is just what we after the installation, you will see it. Let's see. Seems I had to go out here. Right. So you can see the Docker is Docker desktop is starting up, and then you can using the preference to check what's the resources that you want to allocate for this Docker engine, and so on. So you have to have enough CPUs, enough memory, and also have enough disk image, which is going to, when you pull the image from the Docker Hub or whatever repository, right? And you have enough space to hold those images. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation. So once you install Docker desktop, you have to have access to some of container registry. The most popular, of course, is the Docker Hub, right? You can follow this link to create an account, and there's also a query.io. You can also follow the link to sign up for a free account. These two are both free, and there's also gcr.io, and you can also have your organization's own, Docker Hub registry, right, for you to use to hosting all the image. And by the way, if you are talking about images, the container image, right, is the something like a binary, or like you can run to create a container and run those code in that binary images. And the reason we need a Docker desktop or Docker engine here is that we want to use it to build and push, the container image. And so there will be create a Docker file, and then a Docker build with this command, and with the Docker push to push a command to the Docker Hub. And I will show you about this later on how we use that. And now going to the languages and IDE. So basically, I'm just talking about that for the Kubeflow, the Go language is the most important one that is used. So you need to follow the instruction here to install, to download and install the Go, either it's 1.14 or a specific version to your development environment, whether it's a laptop or it's a VM, whatever it is. On Mac OS, there is a brew. You can also install through the brew. Just a brew install Go. After you install Go, definitely you need to set up the Go path environment. Usually I would set it just to enter the home, that create a Go. And as we already just showed in the in the first the other slides, that you need to create the source path and after the go path, right? So and the source in github.com/kubeflow. Okay. Python, yeah. So if your projects need Python, for example, the Kubeflow pipelines, then you will want to follow the instruction to install some Python interpreter for you. And definitely it's Python 3, right? And I would actually recommend the mini conda 3, which has some of the package in it, and you have an ability to create a virtual environment for any projects that you want to use, and we're not going to mess up with other project that may need a different set of Python packages and so on. So you can follow the link to install some of the mini condas and so on. And now, final thing is about to install your favorite IDE, right? So as I said, there will be many IDEs that you use. For example, like IntelliJ is most famous for the Java, Scala, and so on, right? And PyCharm maybe for the Python, and for Go, right? There's I guess the number one is a Golang, but it's not free. The free one is right now at least I find that it's the best to use would be the Visual Studio Code. So you can follow this link to install the Visual Studio Code, and it's as I say, it is also free, right? So you can use it. So after you install the Visual Studio Code, you need to install the extensions like Go, Python, and Yaml. These three extensions to it, and Visual Studio Code is using extension for all the language binding, right? So even for Java, you have a Java extension for that. And I will show you that later on. Now, the final thing is about the unique cluster, right? Because we are talking about the all this Kubeflow is on a Kubernetes cluster. So for the development purpose or the local testing, you can run with Minikube. Minikube can be one node or multiple nodes or whatever, but it's not as real or native Kubernetes cluster hosting on a remote cloud environment. But if you need a Minikube, as you can just follow the instructions here to install it, and in our Kubeflow dojo, we also provide some instructions, right? You just install the Minikube on the Mac OS, and it's very easy to follow and straightforward. So it will be good for you to try if you want to just use the Minikube for at least for the first or the second contribution of your code to using and for the testing and for deploying a small set of Kubeflow components, or to try out some of the pipelines and so on. So I'll show you here. It's like a Minikube I have here. Right. So so I have a Minikube here, and I have just a one node, right? And I already installed the Kubeflow on it, right? So it's capable of running some of the, is for your testing and for your, development purpose. But of course, when you come to the production or real things that you really want is to have a cloud cluster. There's a vendors provide that IBM have a cloud Kubernetes service that you can create the Kubernetes clusters, and so you can follow the the link to create the IBM cloud cluster. And we will have all the details about how to do that and how you're going to use that IKS IKS stand for IBM Kubernetes service. Using the IKS cluster to deploy the Kubeflow and run a test on it. There's also other cloud provider like AWS, GCPs, and so on. And you can also gain asset, right, and use it. So this is all the environment you need for you to do the writing the code, testing, build image, and deploy it, and so on. So let me just go to quick demo for you. Okay, so here we go. So as I said, I will have the, by the way, are you able to see my screen in the terminal typing?
Yes, I can see it good, but I don't know about everybody else.
Okay.
So you see, people are saying it's hard to read.
It's too small, or?
Yeah. For me, it's very good, and so most people are saying yes, it's good. One or two, yeah.
Better?
Okay. Yeah, I think that's better.
Okay.
Some people are saying font could be. Oh, yeah, that was better. Yeah.
Okay. So here I can see you can see here skip branches. Now I have branches, right? So as I already installed the Visual Studio code, so I will just go there. I'll open the project of the cave cutter, right? And as I said, you need some of the extensions that the Go and Go extensions and so on. You need to install this stuff. Okay, so and you see the Visual Studio also provide a terminal here, so you don't need to run on the shell terminal. You can just go here and you can see what the Git branches is, and you can also from here integrate of the Git extension. Now I want to check out to another branches. For example, I want to say a doc or something like that, and I want to create on top of the original master branches. And so now I switch to that branches, right, doc. And if I come to here, you can see here all the source codes and source code for this project. And there's also some, when I click on one of the functions, for example, cave cutter control, and then you will see the outline or the class, the functions in these functions, right? So this will it gives you the very visualized view of your code and the things that you can do. Now, what I want to do here is the talk about the when you're writing the code, right? So let's say I want to make a change to the to one of the file, and because I just call it a branch, a doc branch, right? So maybe I just want to mess up with some of the documentation. So I come here and I will try to write some stuff. So this is a markdown, and so I can say run cave cutter help, right, for more info, something like that. I just want to add that. And you see the Visual Studio Code also have a very good way for you to to visualize the real output of Markdown, and so you can see here from the preview of it, and then you can just do this, right? And now, if once you have this change and you want to commit just this file, you can just say I want to commit. So there's a plug, and then you just and then you add the commit messages. Say I update doc, for example, and then you can just using the check to that, and you can also push to your if you want to push, you can push to your original master, which is your forked repos, right? So something like that. So this is just using the IDE to do the coding, to do the commit, to do the push. And once you have this push, so if you can go to your this is your fork repo for the Kubeflow project, and from here you can go to the branch you just create, and you push it here. So you see here you can, and then you can do a compare and create a pull request. All you can see here is the files has been changed. Of that, and then you can do some update on to it, and you can create a pull request. But for this purpose, I'm not going to do that. Okay, so that is about the writing the code, doing the commit, doing the push, and now I'm just going to show you how we can use the BSC, right, the code to do the test, right? So if there's a unit test perspective, as I say, so if you go to here, I'll just close this one. For Kubeflow, projects, there's for Go projects as well. So there's always this underscore test, which is holding all the unit test case for the functions that defined in the code, another function, another file.go, right? So here, and through Visual Studio Go, it's simple, right? You can just click on run test, and then you can run the unit test in here, and you can also debug the test as well, right? So this is a create a Kub app file, and when you finish, it says okay. And we can look at the other one, the customized test as well. And here I want to, let's say I put a breakpoint here, so it's easy to put a breakpoint anywhere you want, and and remove it. So if I want to test this use unit test cases, and I can just go here to say I want to debug. Test, and you see here the debug is launched and it's running right now. Okay. Sometimes that to invoke the test is a little bit slow. So this one is running, right? It's not done yet. So go to the debug console. Now, yeah, so we'll go into our the breakpoint, and then you can go through the breakpoint and or even bypass it and so on. And here is the variable you can see using the local, either it's a local or it's not local or global. You can look at the value for those variables that you want to look at it. Another thing very important is about the call stack, right? So the call stack is going to show you about the what it's running, which one is on the top, and which one is the next the frame of your run, right? So this is about a unit test and how you debug, and you can also run just the not just for a unit test, right? So if you finish, you can say I want to stop the testing, right? So it's done. You can also run the a command or whatever testing you want, right? So you can go to the let's say I want to run Kubeflow build debug on that, and so I come to here because this is the entry point for the Kubeflow command, and I want to run something. Sorry, it's this one. All right, so I do a launch, the configuration why I want to run the debug on it. So the command I want to run, I provide the argument here to build with V with YAML file, a Kub depth configuration file, and we'll talk about this more in the next session, right? So I've just this is the command arguments I'm going to run, and the program here is the file name. This is the default setting value for BSC is your current file, right? It's which is the what we want to run is basically is the command right now. Okay. So here I will start to run a debug on it. So I just run the launch. Yeah, it stopped a little bit slow, but once it start, and then you will begin to run into it. And so you can see, you can go into the, the breakpoint, and then you can continue to go to the next breakpoint, and so on. Okay. So here we go into the customized goal, and from the code stack is so easy to see. So this is will help you when you get into learning the source code of the architecture or the structure of the source code of this project. You definitely want to do some debug, and you want to look into how the the flow, right? The flow of the source code. So basically, in the main here is the command. The main command execution comes in, and then you go to the coordinator to do the load the applications, right? So, and then you call a generate, and from coordinator go to the customize generate, and so on, and then all the functions running from here. So it will help you a lot, right? So that's what IDE is supposed to do, and I think the Visual Studio Code is very good for that. Okay, and I think this is what I will cover what I'm going to talk with this session. For the cluster, as I said, we will provide some of the workshop clusters, and so we will have some of the clusters there for you to use later on. And for me, this is a IKS cluster, and I already have the deployment on the on one of our clusters. So if you can see here, this is my access to the IKS, and we will talk more about that on the how come this is okay? Let me. Yeah, and I think Animesh already showed you about the dashboard of that, and we'll go through that. Once we have a deployment successful, and then there's also the install about the OEM console on the native Kubernetes, and then you can find the Kubeflow operator and so on that. So yeah, so I think that this ends this session, and then we will continue the next one to do some deep dive into the control plane.